Laudetur Jesus Christus. Vatican and World News.
In the headlines this Friday, 9th of April, condolence messages pouring from different quarters for the death of Britain's Prince Philip. Church leaders in Northern Ireland renew calls for peace as violent clashes continue, and the Vatican advocates for debt cancellation for poor African countries amid the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. In the Vatican, I'm Father Benedict Mayaki. Prince Philip, the husband of Queen Elizabeth, has died at the age of 99. The Duke of Edinburgh, who was married to Britain's Queen Elizabeth for 73 years, was said to be the monarch's rock during her 69-year reign. Paying tribute to the Duke, Cardinal Vincent Nichols, Archbishop of Westminster, extended his condolences to the royal family. Lydia O'Kane has the details.
A statement issued by Buckingham Palace on Friday said, "It is with great sorrow that Her Majesty the Queen announces the death of her beloved husband, His Royal Highness, the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. His Royal Highness passed away peacefully this morning at Windsor Castle. The Prince had spent a month in hospital receiving treatment for an infection and underwent heart surgery before being released on the 16th of March to return to Windsor Castle. The Duke of Edinburgh was Britain's longest-serving consort. He was born Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark and was made a Prince of the United Kingdom after his marriage to Princess Elizabeth in 1947. On her accession to the throne, Prince Philip dedicated a lifetime of service to Queen and country." Paying tribute to the Duke, the Archbishop of Westminster, Cardinal Vincent Nichols, said, "At this moment of sadness and loss, I pray for the repose of the soul of Prince Philip, Her Majesty the Queen's faithful and loyal husband. I pray for the Queen and all of the royal family." How much we will miss Prince Philip's presence and character, so full of life and vigour. He has been an example of steadfast loyalty and duty, cheerfully given. May he rest in peace. The Duke of Edinburgh gave up a promising naval career to support his wife and carried out 20,000 royal engagements promoting British interests both at home and abroad. He was by Queen Elizabeth's side when she met Pope Francis at the Casa Sancta Marta in 2014. The Prince also met Pope John XXIII, Pope John Paul II and Pope Benedict XVI during their pontificates. Prince Philip retired from royal duties in 2017 after 65 years of service. The Duke of Edinburgh is survived by the Queen and their 4 children, Prince Charles, Princess Anne, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, as well as 8 grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren. I'm Lydia O'Kane.
Gangs of youth threw stones and fireworks at police in Belfast who hit back with water cannons as violence flared again on Thursday night on the streets of Northern Ireland. Unrest has erupted over the past week amid tensions over post-Brexit trade rules and worsening relations between the parties in the Protestant Catholic power-sharing Belfast government. The latest violence came despite appeals by UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Irish Premier Michael Martin and US President Joe Biden calling for a calming of tensions. Speaking to Lydia O'Kane, the Bishop of Down and Connor, Noel Traynor, called for concrete dialogue.
I think it's absolutely essential and urgent that, the Secretary of State here in Northern Ireland, Brandon Lewis, and the government he represents, that they revive and intensify the two of the 3 axes of the Good Friday Agreement, namely the East-West axis, that's to say between this island, the United Kingdom, and the North-South axis, that's Dublin-Belfast. In other words, what I'm saying is the 2 governments in London and in Dublin, together with the politically elected here, but particularly these 2 governments need to, if you like, accompany, to parent, to promote the institutions of the Good Friday Agreement. To some extent, as the years passed, the idea of, notwithstanding the recent 3-year demise of the institutions, the idea was, well, Northern Ireland will make its own way. Northern Ireland and the peace process is still a delicate initiative. It needs subtending, it needs support, it needs accompaniment, it needs midwifing, if you like, or parenting, and that parenting needs to be ensured by London, by Dublin, and by Belfast. Yes, indeed, too, with the support of Washington. My appeal really is that that these 2 axes, east-west, north-south, be, if you like, be strengthened, and that the political narrative needs to be a very sensitive and supportive political narrative.
That was Bishop Noel Treno speaking to Vatican News. The Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development released a statement stressing that along with the Vatican's COVID-19 Commission, it is supporting the campaign for debt cancellation for African countries. The initiative was launched during a webinar organized by the Dicastery and the Commission itself in collaboration with other partners. Francesca Merlo reports.
Sister Alessandra Smerilli, Under Secretary of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development, opened the webinar on Wednesday by noting that this campaign, which is even more urgent because of COVID-19, starts in Africa, where the local church has given shape to a widespread demand in civil society. Archbishop Gabriel Justice Yo Anokia of Kumasi in Ghana, also president of Caritas Africa, opened his speech by saying, "Now is the time to see, judge and act on behalf of the poor and vulnerable. In times of difficulty and crisis, we can see God's action in solidarity." Henry Akabiam, Secretary General of SECAM, said, "We cannot fail to act because if Africa lives in debt, the whole world will live in debt. And if Africa is doing well, the whole world is also doing well." Father Augusto Zampini, Adjunct Secretary of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development and a member of the board of the Vatican COVID-19 Commission, then spoke, adding that this is not just a question of technique or mere solidarity, important though that is, but a question of justice. It is a question of intergenerational justice, he said, because we cannot make our children and future generations pay for all the effects of our mistakes. Nor can we forget the ecological debt of the richest countries, which are primarily responsible for climate change, but most of the burden falls on the poorest nations like those in Africa. Today, the cost of the accumulated pandemic would be enough to vaccinate the entire continent against COVID, and yet the prelate goes on to emphasize this crisis, which is so violent, is also providing many opportunities for collaboration that has never been seen before. People like us today are coming together to find a solution to promote life throughout the world. Jaime Atienza from Oxfam then drew attention to the link between all the forces that can help improve crisis situations. We are at a time when we need to push finance towards social justice, he said. The urgency of debt cancellation, said Dominic Chai, a Jesuit economist for the Vatican COVID-19 Commission, requires that we work steadfastly and continue this dialogue. In doing so, we will raise both awareness and commitment to a new level, not only in Africa, but in all regions where the burden of unjust debt is felt. Finally, Cardinal Peter Turkson, prefect of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development, noted that the person, as the social doctrine of the Church teaches, has a dignity that cannot be compromised. No one can be left behind because of injustice, he said. We are called to be guardians of our brothers and sisters, and this is the heart of our solidarity. I'm Francesca Merlo.
In North Korea, fears are growing that many people in the reclusive nation are facing a looming famine amid dampened trade flows due to COVID-19 and international sanctions. North Korea's leader has even compared the current economic crisis to a deadly famine in the 1990s that left countless people dead. Devin Watkins has the details.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has urged citizens to wage an arduous march to overcome economic woes brought on by the COVID-19 crisis. This is the first time that the supreme leader has drawn comparisons to a famine in the 1990s, which saw hundreds of thousands of North Koreans starve to death. The state-run Korean Central News Agency reported Friday that Kim told party members that there are many obstacles and difficulties. He said he is calling on all North Koreans to wage another more difficult, arduous march in order to relieve our people of this difficulty even a little. The term arduous march is a euphemistic term used in the country to describe the 1990s famine, which occurred after the fall of the Soviet Union and the collapse of Soviet aid. The exact death toll from that event is unclear, but estimates range up to 3 million people died. Outside observers say they have not detected any evidence of mass starvation or a humanitarian disaster. Yet Kim's remarks show how seriously he considers the situation. North Korea has sealed its borders even with neighboring China, its main trading partner, due to fears about the contagion of COVID-19. Analysts say the country's trade with China fell by around 80% in 2020 due to the border closures. They say North Korea made the move because its healthcare system would buckle under the weight of a coronavirus outbreak. The dire economic situation is also the result of international sanctions on North Korea linked to its nuclear program and testing of ballistic missiles. Reports have emerged that the price of corn has varied widely over the past year. The cost of corn, the staple diet of most North Koreans, has reportedly soared over a month's wages. The The UN recently warned of a serious food crisis, which has already led to severe malnourishment. I'm Devin Watkins.
According to UNICEF, over 100 economies have now received the COVID-19 vaccines under the COVAX initiative. Since making its first international delivery to Ghana on the 24th of February, more than 38 million doses from manufacturers AstraZeneca, Pfizer-BioNTech, and Serum Institute of India have now been delivered across 6 continents. COVAX, the global mechanism for equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines, expects to deliver about 2 billion doses of the vaccine in 2021. Currently, of the over 100 economies reached, 61 are among the 92 lower-income economies receiving vaccines funded by the Gavi COVAX Advanced Market Commitment. UNICEF, however, notes that an additional $2 billion is required in 2021 to finance up to 1.8 billion donor-funded doses of the COVID-19 vaccines. The Holy See and the Philippines marked 70 years of diplomatic relations between them on Thursday. To commemorate the occasion, a virtual event was organized and the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs released a message. Robin Gomes has that story.
Outgoing Philippine ambassador to the Holy See, Grace Relucio Princesa, reaffirmed her nation's commitment to further strengthen the bilateral relations. She assured the government's continued partnership with the Church, saying there's really room for engagement. Let the Philippine Embassy in the Vatican start this: diplomacy for humanity, diplomacy for the common good, and one of this is migration, said the 65-year-old diplomat who is retiring. Teodoro Locsin Jr., the Philippine Secretary of Foreign Affairs, released a separate message extending his warmest and most sincere greetings for 70 years of close friendship between the Philippines and the Holy See. May our work together in the coming years, he said, contribute to the world's healing. May we also witness and guide new generations to bear stronger faith, hope, and love, he said, recalling 500 years of Christianity in the country. On April the 8th, 1951, during the term of Filipino President Elpidio Quirino, representatives of the Holy See and the Philippines signed their first treaty establishing diplomatic ties. The agreement raised the Holy See's diplomatic delegation to the Philippines to the status of apostolic nunciature. The following day, April the 9th, 1951, Archbishop Egidio Vagnozzi was appointed the first apostolic nuncio. The first Philippine ambassador was Manuel Moran, who presented his credentials to Pope Pius XII on June the 4th, 1951. On that occasion, Moran spoke of his country's desire to maintain and strengthen its long-standing bonds of friendship with the Holy See and to cooperate with it in the great task of promoting peace and human dignity and freedom. Through the nunciatures, the Holy See is able to facilitate dialogue with civil authorities, foster contacts with the local churches, and maintain a presence in international life. Thursday's virtual event was highlighted with a webinar titled 70 Years of Philippine Holy See Bilateral Relations, Reflections on the Filipino Religious Diaspora and its Impact on the Overseas Filipino Diaspora and the Contribution of the Church towards their Social Pastoral Care. I am Robin Gomes.
That brings us to the end of this edition of Vatican and World News. For more on these and on other stories, you can visit our web portal at www.vaticannews.va, and you can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. My thanks go to the sound engineers in studio, and in the Vatican, I'm Father Benedict Mayaki.